Hello, the internet! It is Sunday, the 28th of April, 2024, and welcome back to the channel. We have a fantastic chat coming up, folks. First of all, I've just been cleaning my bathroom, been using a whole bunch of bleach. I'm getting a little bit of throwback from that. Excuse the dog outside. I've been bottling a brew and cleaning the bathroom. But before we get too deep into this, I want to thank Charla Rose in the chat, MD Wits. Please share this out and smash the thumbs up. We're on our way here. This particular stream, I'm very grateful to Captain RG3 is our guest. He's going to come on. We're going to have a chat about the Highest of Stakes documentary. For those that don't like crypto, for those that aren't interested in crypto, this might not be the stream for you. If you've heard me talk about crypto, you've heard me talk about Hex in the past, and a lot of you have tuned out. But if you want to learn a little and you have questions of your own, this could be the stream for you. I've got a series of questions, and I hope that we can have an open, legit Discord about this situation or this particular documentary relating to Hex. I want to also set a couple of ground rules. I'm not really going to be looking at my chat, just so that I don't, lose my train of thought. I've got some things I want to address. I don't want to get distracted. RG3 and Discourse Syndicate are also streaming this out on their platform. If there's conversation that needs to be addressed, I'm happy to jump over and read chat there and read chat here and combine if there's things that pop up. But for the bulk of it, I'd like to just keep it between RG and I. Of course, the VOD will go up later so that you can rewatch it, and then if you have questions, you can ask in the comments. But for the sake of brevity and the live stream, I want to kind of try to keep it as concise as I can. Also, don't want to take up too much of RG3's time. It's 8 p.m. on Saturday night in LA, and it is Sunday at 1 p.m. my time. I've got a whole bunch of stuff I want to be doing this afternoon, so we don't want to drag this out, but I do have these questions. First of all, let me bring in the captain and we can say our hellos. Let me just do this over here. Captain RG3, how you doing, man?
Pretty good. How you doing?
I'm doing well. You, first of all, you can hear me, you can see me, we can hear you, we can see you.
Yeah, everything seems to be working on my end, so yeah, I can hear and see you.
Okay. I might just wait for the verification in the chat. Davey's the last one in my chat. Can you hear Captain? Just before we get into it, I want to make sure that we're good. We did have a couple of little hiccups last night on a stream and with audio tech and stuff. So Davey or MD or Charlotte, can you let me know that the stream is good on my channel? And then I guess, Captain, you can do the same with your guys. You are streaming this, right?
Yeah, my producer's watching. She's monitoring everything for me on the other side. So yeah.
I think we should be good. We did check it. 5x5. Thank you, Davey. Okay, well, first of all, Captain, thank you for doing this. You answered my tweet and you suggested you'd come on for a chat. I really appreciate you doing that, so that's very kind of you. How about a little explanation of who you are first? What's your history with crypto, with Hex, and with me, I guess?
Yeah, so I got a thumbs up from my producer. Everything's good. Awesome. I've been in the... I was in the gaming industry, the video gaming industry, back in 2007, 2006, even before that. That's kind of how I got introduced to crypto, through the IRC chat rooms and through in-game cryptocurrencies. And then we watched Bitcoin launch. Didn't really get involved in crypto until about 2014 when I started investing, getting involved in the financial side of it, actually. And got very discouraged with the space. Ran all the way to 2017, just watching scam after scam after scam. People just putting out real garbage projects out there to take people's money. And I saw underlying technologies being developed and emerging, but they weren't ready for prime time. And the scammers were the ones that were on top of things. So I was ready to get out in 2017, and I ran into somebody who resonated with me. I'm from the streets of LA, and I'm a pretty good judge of character and people. And I saw this guy, Richard Hart, and I thought, okay, well, this guy sounds like he's on the up and up. He wants to help. Looks like he wants to do something good. I'll follow him and see what happens. And he came out with a project called Hex. And I really liked the concept. I liked the self-custody. I liked the fact that it was true DeFi. It looked like the first DeFi project I've ever seen. So I got involved and basically made my own investment in it. History from there is it ran up 10,000x from its early days. We all did very well. As it launched, I saw a lot of very smart people coming to the Hex community that were in the Telegram rooms that were kind of hidden away in chat rooms. And so I decided to start streaming and I have a channel on YouTube, Discourse Syndicate, where on Friday nights we open it up for everybody. We just throw the stream key out there and say, come on. I think that we were the first ones that ever really kind of did that. And they came, and the Hex community kind of blossomed from there, grew from there. We've got 140 projects out there that are tied to it, multiple streamers. We made a movie, lots of different companies and products that were built on it because of all that. And then in the early days, we were streaming on multiple platforms, and that's where we ran into you on DLive back in the day.
Yep.
We were all having a bunch of fun back there. That platform was really fun for a while. And that's where we kind of ran into you. We started, teaching you about crypto we'd do these raids, we'd go to different channels and you were very receptive, answered us. And it was an early development of our community. So we were just reaching out to other influencers, people that were interested in talking about crypto.
Yep.
And that's kind of how we started talking to you about it and then other streamers too.
When you say we, who are you referring to?
The community. So the Hex community is a fully grassroots organization. We're not even really an organization. We're a community, and we've supported this blockchain project, the Hex cryptocurrency that was built on Ethereum, which now exists on another chain also that was built by the same founder called Pulse Chain. When I say we, I mean the community. We came together. None of us were ever paid for anything. None of us were ever organized. We just kind of took it upon ourselves to go out and start marketing and building our own channels and marketing verticals. And that's kind of who we are.
A lot in there. I want to go through a few of the key points that came up. You indicated that you got in with Hex quite early. So I'm assuming before it was even called Hex, it was Bitcoin Hex. Is that when you first?
When it was Fluid Dynamics coin,
right.
It was when we first started, and then Richard turned it into Bitcoin Hex. Then he changed it to just Hex. But yeah, I was there when the adoption amplifier launched. So that was when the first initial launch of the coin came out. I was there for that. And then, of course, went on day one launch when it came out. I was already, had participated in the adoption amplifier for a year.
What would you say makes Hex unique?
Well, it was the first totally decentralized cryptocurrency. It was a DeFi product. Right. When you try and make yield off of your crypto, which was the buzzword of the last bull run was yield. You had to give up custody, and that's where the issues came up with Celsius and FTX and all these things. When you give up custody of your crypto, when they're not your keys anymore, they don't belong to you. And when those things go belly up or they turn off the machine, you lose. And that's what happened to everybody. And Hex wasn't that product. Hex is the code and you alone. You stake your Hex. The code gives you your rewards. You unstake and stake your rewards. There's no human being. There's no entity. There is nothing involved other than you and the commitment that you've made to the contract. And that's what makes Hex unique, is that nothing else has ever done anything like that. It was always self-custody. You had to give up custody in order to make any type of rewards from your crypto being staked.
Right. So this was the first true DeFi protocol that you'd seen.
Yes, and it was a finished product. It came out finished, and it was launched done. So code was immutable. There was no upgrades, nothing that needed to be done, no foundation behind it. It was a truly decentralized, immutable contract launched on the internet for all of us to interact with.
And what was the joy of the contract? Like, what did it actually do for you?
For me personally, it's created generational wealth. But So there's a few things that are like my favorites about what Hex does, and it solves a few things in the world that we're seeing as problems. First of all, the inflation model is something very, very unique. If you look at how the U.S. inflates its dollars, which is the number one currency on the planet, it's done by bureaucrats, politicians, and they say what, when, and where, and how that inflation is going to occur. And it happens whether we like it or not, and it lands on our heads. And for instance, in the U.S. and around the world, this inflation problem that's been going on, they've been printing money, and all the money on our pillows has devalued because of that. Same with Bitcoin. So Bitcoin inflates by the miners mining it. Those miners end up dumping that on your head, and they have to pay electric bills, and you create these boom bust cycles all the time. Now, that doesn't say that everything's not connected to it right now, because it is the big dog, and that's where liquidity is. But it's an inflation model that is not working out for the betterment of society. Now, here's how Hex inflates. Hex inflates by, first of all, you get the crypto, and all it does is move back and forth just like a Bitcoin. It goes send and receive. That's it. I can send you a Hex, and you can send me a Hex, and that's it. That's all it does.
Yeah.
But then it has a staking feature. Right. And the staking feature allows you to put a certain amount out, as much as you'd like, for a certain amount of time, as much as you'd like, up to 15 years.
Yes.
So your marker in that time and how much you put in is how you're going to be, how you're going to make returns. Now, how are the returns made? The returns are made from the contract issuing inflation of the coin. So the coin has an inflation rate of 3.69% per year. That's the inflation rate. That's what's built into the code. So that 3.69% that comes out in inflation lands on all the stakers. It doesn't go out into circulation or anything like that. It lands on the stakers. So listen to that. So dollars, Bitcoin, these things inflate, come out, and hit the market instantly, or somewhat instantly, to pay bills, to reap rewards, whatever.
Yes.
Hex inflation comes out and lands on a 15-year stake, on a 10-year stake, on a 5-year stake. So we don't see that inflation. It's delayed inflation no matter what. Even if somebody stakes for a day, that inflation that comes out is delayed by 1 day at least. So the delayed inflation is an important aspect here of what Hex crypto is and what it means to the world. Is it's got a great inflation model.
Right.
On top of that, it's the gains that are really the piece de resistance, the golden goose is, people always go to the Hex website and see the 38% APY, and that's where they yell and scream scam. And they really don't understand what Hex is and how come it does that.
So, and can I just jump in? It's a lot to dissect for someone that's completely new to this. That's a lot, but I wanted to.
So there's two things. There's the inflation model, and there's the return gains are the two, pinnacles of what Hex is.
Yeah. Is it safe to say that the way to make money in Hex is to stake it?
Yes.
So then, logically,
that's one of the ways. That's the best way, but yes, that is the way. Drawing from that
that statement, you guys came into my streams in, what would you say, 20? I guess it was before Big Payday, so 2019.
2019, before 2020. December 2020 was Big Payday.
And when did Hex launch?
2019. 2020.
Big Payday was in 2020, or was it in 2019?
Yeah.
I feel like it was 2019.
2019. December of 2019. So right before 2020.
And so before Big Payday, Hex had been around for just under a year, right? Just under 365 days.
Yeah, just under a year. It was the adoption amplifier, meaning that's when Ethereum was being put in, and the Hex was coming out daily and being rewarded to the people that put their Ethereum into the adoption amplifier.
So the question I have for you is, did you make money from staking for 1 year, or did you trade Hex to make your wealth? Because you came into cryptocurrency through, you said you made your wealth with Hex, but that doesn't quite check out because it's only been around for less than a year. And when you guys came into my stream, it was all about staking. Get this guy some Hex, get him to do a 555 stake, get it out there. But you'd already made tons of money, as you said at the beginning of this stream. I'm just not sure how that came. And I gotta be respectful. It is none of my business where you gain your wealth from, of course. But when you came into my stream, it was all about staking. There was never, and in fact, even Richard was saying trading is for losers. Don't trade. What does he say? Trading ladies and liquor, they're the baddest, the worst things. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Ladies, liquor, and leverage, the killers of man.
Yeah, I knew it was something like that. So I'm just trying to conclude the message, and this ties into the ultimate conversation I want to have here about the documentary, The Highest of Stakes. The message was clear. You get this thing, you stake it out. Yet you dudes, and I'm referring to the OGs as you claim to call yourselves, you dudes can't have been doing that because you'd already made bucket loads of money under a year of Hex. I don't know. I'm not. I want to be careful because, as I said, it's ultimately not my business. But in the sake of being concise about the whole scope of what happened here, that question begs to be asked.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to straighten you out. I'm gonna straighten this up for you so you understand what's really going on. So you asked me, what has Hex done for me? And I told you I'm wealthy, generationally wealthy.
That's amazing. Congrats.
This is 4 years later.
Yeah.
We're 4 years past the launch. So let's put that in perspective first. You said I got rich in 1 year. I didn't get rich in 1 year.
Well, you did. You said at the beginning of the stream that you'd made a whole bunch of money up front with Hex in the early days.
No, I didn't say up front. I said I've made generational wealth because of Hex. That's what it's done for me, is what I said. I didn't say I made it in the first year. But yes, I did make money in the first year, and I'll explain how that all works. Okay? So the way, have you ever heard of a CD? I'm getting a lot of feedback. Hold on a second. The way that you make money in Hex is like using a traditional CD. The way I set my staking up and my Hex bags up was during the adoption amplifier days, we were setting up staking strategies. And my strategies that I taught people were, okay, we're going to have event strategies. I got kids that are going to college. I know when those years are going to be. I got a daughter. I'm going to put a wedding dowry away from her. So like maybe when she's 25 or older, somewhere around there, maybe she get married. Anniversaries, Christmas. I started making these stakes for events.
Yeah.
And then I said, well, I'd like to retire in about 3 years. So I'm going to set up an income ladder. So what I did was I went out 3 years from that date that I wanted to retire in. And I set up stakes for every month for 5 years. 5 years.
And monthly stakes for 5 years.
What?
Every month a
monthly
stake payment.
Stakes.
You're gonna get slammed with Ethereum fees.
Not anymore because I'm on Pulse Chain.
Okay, we will get to that, but
we can talk about that. But yes, when you've got as much Hex staked as I have, the fees aren't that bad. I mean, they're horrible. Don't get me wrong. I've paid, over $800 for some stakes to come out, but they were worth enough that it didn't kill the value of them.
So are you claiming that you did not trade Hex? You only staked it?
No, I didn't trade it. I had liquid Hex, of course. But I had all these stakes set up. Now, when Hex ran up 10,000x, I had Hex still.
Why would you hold liquid Hex though? If you can earn yield daily on the T-share rate, why would you hold liquid in your wallet? It doesn't make sense.
So as time went on, so I'll make it make sense to you. Richard started telling us that he was going to build a project called Pulse Chain, and Pulse
that's after the ramp up though. That's after all-time highs.
It was right around all-time highs. So we all sacrificed for Pulse Chain at all-time highs. So holding on to that liquid Hex in order to trade it for a sacrifice to get into the Pulse Chain, that's what a lot of us did. So we kept those gains, and we were able to trade those gains to get into Pulse Chain.
Wow. Okay.
So that's what we did.
So I hear what you're saying, and it checks out. It makes sense. It's not what was being told it's not what was being. I don't want to use the word instructed, but it was not the message that was delivered to newcomers like me. The message to me was very clear. This is the world's first certificate of deposit on a blockchain. The way you make money here is to stake this shit out. The longer you stake it, the better. The higher pays better, longer pays better. So I, like many others, went all in and did that and staked out 5555. Now, that leads up to this documentary that has been produced, The Highest of Stakes. And the reason we're having this discussion today is because I watched it most recently, I guess about a month or so ago, and I noted that in that film, nowhere is the words 5555 mentioned. And I genuinely have an inquiry to you. First of all, who are you in relation to the film? I've heard mixed.
I produced it.
You're not listed as a producer anywhere. I don't understand.
They took me off as a producer because I starred in the film. So they asked me to kind of take a back seat from being a producer and just to hold the marquee as a star in the film.
So as a producer, you financially contribute the bulk of the bulk of the funds for the film.
No, I didn't. The bulk. I was a co-producer. My partner was the executive producer, and we had a lot of other people that put in for the film.
Was that Kinetics, your co-partner?
Yes.
So, what other films have you produced? What's your?
That was our first film.
So your first film was funded predominantly by yourself and another hexagon, and the film is called
community.
The Highest of Stakes. Yet in the film, talking about the product, which is a staking certificate of deposit on the blockchain, you don't talk about staking 5555. Yet everywhere else.
You ready for me to answer your question? You've asked me this on Twitter. You've asked me a bunch of times.
We're doing it here now for clarity.
I'm ready to give you the answer. So here's the answer. We were approached by a company that called Muse Entertainment that wanted to do a documentary on the Hex community. I didn't have the idea for this film. This idea of the film was Muse Entertainment. Muse Entertainment came to us and said, "We'd like to put this film together. Can you help us put money?" We said, "Yeah, we'll even put money in it. We'll help produce it." And they said, "Here's the contract and here's the stipulations. You, Richard Hart, none of the community has any say-so in how we make this film." And we said, "Okay, agree. We want it to be subjective. We want you to give your side of the story. We want to make it fair and open and not influenced by us. We will pay for it. We will give you the funds to go out and make this film because we believe in what we're doing. And you go ahead and find whoever you want to contrary it and do whatever and make your documentary." And that's how it was put together. So we had no say-so in the editing, in the content, what ended up on the floor, what was said.
Even though you were the financial contributors, your money didn't talk at that point. You contributed financially, but had no say in the direction of the film.
100%.
It's a pretty odd kind of scenario to set up, and then you acted in the film as well.
Yes.
That's
very I
odd.
was interviewed. I'm not an actor. I was interviewed for the film. They followed me around, did some things with me, asked me for different situations that were going on that they could, be part of.
Do you think there's a conflict of interest there at all? Would you say there's a conflict of interest at all with that scenario?
With what?
Well, first of all, you're promoting a product that you financially gained from, and you still want to financially gain from. You're providing the finances to create the film, then you star in the film, and it just seems a little. It seems a little
again
inside.
I told you they came to me, asked me, and we believe in what we're doing. So look, this is not about Hex and money. This is about changing global finance. That's what this has always been about for all of this community.
Right.
We know what we have our hands on. This isn't a scam. This never has been. It's been the best cryptocurrency that's ever been introduced into this space. And people still don't see it. People still question us. People still question our integrity and what we've done. I put my money, my sweat equity, my time into this, and I still get questioned about it. And that's what I don't understand is that why can't people peel the layer of this bull crap off and look at what it is that we're trying to tell everyone? We're trying to save you in crypto. We're trying to fix things. We're trying to get you to stop giving rip-off artists your money. We're trying to put people into a real product. And I put my money and my time on the line and said, hey, you go ahead and make a film like you want. Poke holes in this. Show this to be a scam. Show me to be a scammer. Show me to be in cahoots with somebody on this. That's how much confidence I had in it. Now, the staking message still lives today. The best way to stake your hex is to go 5555. The best gains. Period. End of story. That doesn't mean you don't invest differently if your time horizon or your risk tolerance is different. Everybody invests differently based on their age, their risk tolerance, and all that. And that's what people need to understand. And if people would listen to more of our content and what we say, these are the things that we say on a regular basis. This isn't for everyone to just go in and stick it out 5555. That's not the message. The message is use this as a tool to invest the way your risk tolerance and time horizon desires. That's what this is for. And it's a safe way to do it.
When you saw the film for the first time, what was your reaction to how the actual producers, when they had delivered a product, what was your reaction?
Well, first, I hate watching myself on screen, so that was the hardest part. Was watching myself on the big screen.
You're in the wrong industry.
Well, I never even watch my own streams. You know, I mean, I did this to expose others, the smarter people in the community. I did this because there was a leadership void, and I wanted to help lead some of these younger folks in the community and expose their talents and their brains and their knowledge. And so seeing myself on film and seeing myself streaming has never been a favorite of mine. But I did like the way they told the story. I did like the message. I did like the fact that it wasn't a puff piece on a hex. I did like the fact that we got the message out there of who we were and what we were trying to do. It was a very odd period of time in Richard's life and how he was marketing the product.
Yes.
So there was that. But I think that gets eyes on it too, you know? So that was kind of my reaction, but I thought they did a great job. Their cinematography was great. And I think that, and when you look at it, it's really the only positive crypto movie that's ever been made. You look at everything else, it's always about nefarious acts. It's always about murder. It's always about people stealing money or going to prison for selling drugs or money laundering. You don't ever see crypto movies out there that are telling a real story about a real community that's trying to market a decentralized product, because there is no real marketing team. There's no foundation behind Hex. It is just an immutable contract that some guy made, and he doesn't have any control over it. And there's all of us promoting it. So we're all individual promoters and just telling people our stories, our experience, and trying to educate the world on what it really is.
As a financial contributor to the film, you are earning a return, right? You didn't just throw money at it. Isn't that how that works? You're the producer. You contribute financially, so it's essentially you're advancing the film, and then you want to earn off of the film. Is that correct? Or
yes, even if in the end, there is a return on the investment. Yeah. And at this point, I haven't had a dime paid to me yet.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. You didn't have to disclose that, but just for the sake of clarity.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm just saying it's not a moneymaker.
Yeah.
I think that the bull market may, bring more returns on it, but I'll probably never recoup what we put into it. I think we put $3 million into the film.
You put $3 million into the film, or that was the total budget?
That was the total budget.
Right. And you've that's a high percentage stake out of that.
I have a small percentage stake.
A small percentage. Yeah. So again, it begs the question, what do you think was the purpose? And I know you say you had no control in the direction of the
Yeah.
film, but what was the point of the film that you would be willing to throw in a chunk of money with no expectations of a return, to coin a phrase, and it seems to me that the film, and this is just my interpretation, it seems that the film is meant to get people interested in Hex, but also leaving the door open for them to decide this isn't for me or this is for me. But what did you want the film to be? Why would you give your money to something without knowing what it's going to be, basically?
Because I wanted a bigger platform to tell the truth.
But you don't have any say in that. They could have come out and done a complete lie, a fabricated story, and you've just lost your money at that point. How
That was the risk I was willing to take.
So you were willing to just throw money at something in the hope that there'd be a good story from it?
I think there was a calculated risk there.
Yeah.
I'm in crypto. I make calculated risks all the time. So I never seen a production company and the quality of work that they've done want to do a movie on a crypto community.
Right.
I didn't know of any movies out there that were passing a positive message. I know in the film at times they made us look clownish. They made us look kind of crazy. They made us look a little out there. But that was okay. I was okay with that because, I mean, that's who we are. We're the misfits. And it is even a part in the movie where I make mention of that, I think it's the misfits in the world that change it. And it's the people that look the craziest or may kind of appear to be the craziest that actually go out and change the world. And that's what this is really about.
I think Steve Jobs said that too.
I think that people have been looking at me like there's some ulterior motive, and that's not the case. Well, I grew up in the streets of LA. I worked my whole life putting boots on in the dark and taking them off in the dark, raised a family, and but was an entrepreneur on the side to try and make ends meet so my wife could stay home and work, stay home with the kids. And I was a Marine. That's the integrity I've had my whole life. I'm a working stiff. That's what I did. And then I just happened to find the right tool to free me. And when I saw that it could free me, I said, okay, to whom much is given, much is expected. I need to go out and do everything that I can to get this out to the world, to get this message out there, to get it in front of people. And that's what this has been all about. I've never made any money off of my YouTube channels, any of the support stuff. It's all my tour. I do my tour pro bono. I travel the world and I speak to people and do seminars on Pulse Chain and Hex.
So you're still throwing a lot of money into everything related to Hex. You're still dumping money into it, not even just the token, but everything around it. So you must have made a truckload of money early up in that first year before.
No, it's not like that. My Hex is staked, and I get returns every month. I'm getting returns every month. I get returns on a regular basis.
But when Hex is such a, it's so low, like the return.
It's not so low.
From all-time highs of
to me.
So you must have a truckload of Hex, is what I'm getting at.
Well, if I got in as early as I did, of course.
Okay, so all right. Well, then let's go from further now. We've seen the documentary. We know your story. We know how you got involved in it. Yeah. We know the idea behind the film, what it was meant to do. Given Richard Hart's recent tweet or last month about the product in the documentary, given that he said this product is now void and anybody using it should think again and transfer that wealth into the Pulse chain. Now, for those that don't know what we're talking about, we could go in and dissect all that, but I'm going to assume that those that are here know what happened and they know about Pulse chain, they know about p-hex, and I'm going to refer to them as p-hex and e-hex just because it's easier. I know p-hex is hex and so Richard Hart famously tweeted that do not touch the product that's in this documentary. Instead, go over here and utilize this chain.
But now, that's not what he said.
Well, do you want to bring it up? We can read it.
Yeah, you can bring up the tweet, and it's gonna read a lot differently than what you're saying, because that's what everybody's feeling right now because of what happened after he said what he said. Richard said Hex on Pulse Chain is better. And he wasn't lying. Because of the fees, Hex on Pulse Chain is better. That doesn't mean that Hex on Ethereum doesn't have value. That didn't mean dump it and come over here. He said Hex on Pulse Chain is better, and the market has spoken. Not him. He was just stating some facts. Now, people like myself were saying Hex on Ethereum is a great value because it was half the price of Hex on Pulse Chain. Look, and I can tell you why I think that it's a superior buy right now, because Ethereum eventually is going to fix itself.
I'm just bringing up his tweet here. So I'll read it out and then we can dissect it. But he said Hex is much better than eHex. So Pulse Hex is much better than Ethereum Hex. Why? Gas fees, liquidity, slippage, common sense. So by the way, he's talking down to us right there. He's talking down to everybody. If you can't see this, you're a dum-dum, is what he's saying. Why would you pay $1,000 to end a stake worth instead of pennies? So why would you end stake on Ethereum when you can do it for cheaper on Pulse? Why would you want crappier order execution, buying into a thinner order book with more slippage, getting less for your dollar? The same applies if you sell. How are you saving people from gas fees if they have to end stake on 2 chains instead of 1? Is he talking to himself there? How is he saving people? It looks like it's rhetorical about himself. Every start stake, end stake, or swap on Ethereum chain robs users of dollars because of the abusively expensive gas fees. Mind you, this is a product that he launched and that people such as yourself came in and talked people into buying. So He's really rubbing it in that this is not a good decision that we all made.
No. That is not what he's saying.
It's pretty clear. He's saying that.
No, he said that it's bad because the fees weren't high when we were talking about Hex.
Right.
When you were talking about Hex, the fees weren't high. It was a whole different story back then. The fees, not only did the fees go up, but the S load went up even exponentially on us. So Ethereum literally tried to kill Hex by changing the S load fees, which is the computational fees that are charged for counting up your stake as it ends. So Ethereum did some funky stuff in here to make Hex even worse than it was. And it wasn't Hex that got bad, it was Ethereum that got bad. So let's make sure that we get that clear first.
Okay, that's clear.
He is explaining the problems on Ethereum.
And the real bull run hasn't even started. Imagine how high the gas fees on Ethereum may get. Those dollars would have went into the Hex network participants instead of the Ethereum validators. That's fair. So then he poses the question, what if all new buyers chose Hex, so Pulse Hex, instead of Ethereum Hex?
That's the key.
Okay. What if all new
buyers
and screw the rest of you?
We should be educating now to sell on to Pulse Chain.
I agree. That's a key point, and I definitely want to come back to that because that's a huge question I have of yourself and the film. So what if all new buyers chose Hex instead of eHex? What if all new buyers chose Hex instead of splitting their energy? And I'll add to that, and by the way, sucked in all of you guys that went with Ethereum Hex long term, 55555, you're fucked at that point.
But we got duplicates.
It's no okay. We'll tap into that as well. So he says, I've told you all this before, but likely some of you don't listen so well. So again, he's preaching down to us. You're all dum-dums. So I'm telling you again, Hex is the Hex on Pulse Chain. That's clear, RG. That's clear. Hex is the Hex on Pulse Chain. He doesn't want you to touch eHex.
The name Hex is the Hex on Pulse Chain.
Yeah, and
that's what he's calling the real Hex.
Therefore, do not touch eHex.
Well, that's your interpretation. I don't read it that way.
Oh, come on, man.
Because I can tell you,
it doesn't get any clearer than that, man.
No, I can make it clearer for you if you listen to a concept that I have and I understand.
Okay, well, I'll just finish it's almost finished, and then we'll come to that.
Go ahead.
The only part that sucks about saying this is that while I told you that you should be very careful about selling one chain for the other, because if you choose wrong, the market will punish you probably some people chose wrong. So those that put their and those that put their financial investments into eHex chose wrong after Pulse was launched, is what I'm reading there. So once Pulse launched, you shouldn't have chosen eHex. Pulse Chain was invented to make the world a better place, and it is. So just before we tap into what you were about to say, and hold your thought, you are quite famous for saying or for stating that Hex is the GOAT, correct?
Yeah.
You've said that a number of times
yeah.
in streams. Hex is the greatest of all time. Even when Pulse was being spoken of and when Pulse Chain was being discussed, you still held on and said, and I recall you in some streams saying, I'm not really going to do much with Pulse and Pulse X. I'm sticking with Hex. Hex is the GOAT.
Yep.
When P-Hex launched, you still said Hex is the GOAT.
Yes.
So you still maintained that E-Hex, Ethereum Hex, is the GOAT.
No, I said Hex.
RG, you didn't. You said...
Yes, I said Hex. I did not say E-Hex. I said Hex. And I'll tell you why.
Hold on.
Because you're putting words in my mouth that I didn't say.
No, because before Pulse Hex came around, there was only Hex. So you did say...
And it was still the GOAT.
You did say Hex because there was only one. Before Pulse Chain, there was no P-Hex.
Exactly.
And Hex obviously refers to E-Hex.
Yes, so I shilled Hex until Pulse Chain came out. Yes.
When Richard Hart did this tweet, when Richard Hart made this tweet, you backtracked and said, oh, no, I always meant Hex on all chains, all Hex. But how can that be if one hadn't even been created yet? You were always backing eHex until Richard tweeted this, and so the
no.
That's the history. That's how it went. And so my point
that is not how it went.
But well, okay. Tell us how it went then.
So when Hex is out, I am 100% behind telling people that Hex is the crypto. If they're in crypto, Hex is the crypto to get. Why? Because I know Hex makes more Hex. Now, is Ethereum broken? Yes. Right now, Ethereum is broken. I don't think Ethereum is going to be broken in the future. Honestly, don't. I think Ethereum will fix itself. It will fix its scaling issues. It will fix its fee issues. And it will continue to be a chain amongst chains, and we will have a multi-chain world in DeFi. The reason I think that this is important is because Hex on both chains is going to be very, very scarce. And why? Because we have 38% APY being paid out right now on a regular basis. Some of us who got in before big payday, our stakes are coming out at over 100%. So, and that's because of big payday and early end stake penalties that we get from everybody early end staking. So when the real world finds out that you can make about a 20% gain on a crypto immutably through the contract, it's going to disappear. And it's going to disappear very, very fast. People are going to be waiting in line for people to unstake their Hex. Now, this is my opinion. This is what I think is going to happen. Now, if Hex dries up and disappears on Pulse Chain, it exists somewhere else. And even though the fees are bad at this moment, that doesn't mean that they're going to be bad in the future. And that doesn't mean that eHex isn't going to be good in the future. It's the same contract. There's nothing wrong with eHex. There's a problem with Ethereum.
You're going against what? You're going against what Richard said, though, in that tweet.
I'm not going against what Richard said.
Well, he's telling us.
I've told you that I think Pulse Hex is better. The real Hex, which he's calling it the real Hex.
Wait. Say that again clearer.
Is better.
Pulse Hex is the greatest of all time now. Is that what you're saying?
I've always said that Pulse Hex was better than Ethereum Hex.
Dude, okay, we can agree to disagree there because it doesn't make sense. Because
it does make sense because Richard just made a point.
How can you refer to something that hadn't been created yet? You were always referring to Hex before Pulse was launched. You always said Hex is the greatest of all time. Hex.
It is.
And now you're saying it's Pulse Hex you were referring to.
No, I'm not. I'm saying that Pulse Hex is now. It's better now. It's the same product. It just doesn't have gas fees. It's the same exact product. There's nothing different.
So am I understanding correctly? you're saying Pulse Hex is the greatest of all time. E-Hex is no longer the greatest of all time.
Hex is the greatest of all time.
All right, let's move on from that. I can't get you to state what you actually mean because you're
That's
not,
what I mean.
But how can they?
Hex on both chains is good.
There's two chains.
Pulse chain is better.
Okay, so
it has nothing to do with Hex. It has to do with the chains that they operate on.
For a complete newbie,
why aren't you picking that up?
For someone
Ethereum sucks, Pulse chain doesn't.
RG, if I was coming, if it's 2024 and let's say DLive was still operating and we were still streaming and you guys came into my chat and this was 2024, would you tell me to invest in E-Hex or P-Hex? I don't have any Hex. What am I going to do?
You're going to make a decision based on two different things, two different risk tolerances. Pulse Hex is the more solid, cheaper way to go. Why? It's on a better chain right now. More risk to go over to Ethereum. Why? Ethereum Hex is cheaper right now. If it fixes and it finds parity with the other Hex, then you make more gains. You've got to decide what you're going to do with that. That's just the facts.
What would you donate?
I'm just stating facts and always been stating facts.
When you guys came in, when Hexo and yourself and even the Joker, you guys donated Hex to me. That was E-Hex. Mm-hmm. What would you donate to a brand new crypto enthusiast in 2024? What Hex would you donate?
Well, we don't do that anymore, but I would, if I was to get somebody involved, it would be P-Hex.
Okay, clear, very clear. So E-Hex is no longer the greatest of all time. P-Hex is. Okay, let's move on from there.
Okay.
I'm just saying, like, this tweet from Richard sort of threw everything into the. First of all, let's go back in time. When I referred to this DLive situation, and those in the chat that don't know the story, I was raided by some Hex OGs back in the day. One of them being RG3. At the same time, do you recall? I recall, I hope you recall this, but you slammed me in a Discourse Syndicate stream because I was investigating Dogecoin. I recall watching a stream where you said, well, we rated this DLive streamer, Gives a Minute. We all gave him some Hex. He staked out 15 years. And then I saw him, and I'll do your accent. I'll try to. Then I saw him out there on another stream, and the fucking idiot went and investigated Dogecoin, the fucking meme coin, the fuck. And I tuned into that, and all I saw was a very one-sided. It's like you can only look at Hex, you can't look at any other crypto, and if you do, you're a massive fool, you're a dum-dum. And you're going to get berated in the community just for investigating another crypto. I did that because DLive was paying out the Lino, and I was cashing that out to BTT, and then I was looking to make an investment in my first jump into the crypto world, and I bought some Bitcoin, I bought some more Hex, and I was looking at Dogecoin. I decided not to invest in Dogecoin based upon the way you slammed me in your stream. It wasn't me on the stream with you. It was just you talking about me. I declined Dogecoin. And then what happened? Elon Musk goes on the Tonight Show. That thing fucking all-time highs. I missed out. My point is, when Richard Hart tweets like this, is this market manipulation? And if it's not, how is Elon Musk going on the Tonight Show and berating Dogecoin? That's market manipulation. You guys all screamed out, market manipulation. Look at all these guys buying and selling. He's doing it. It's him. Yeah. But yet Richard does this and you guys don't say anything.
No, we did. And like I said, he just stated fact. And he did it in a harsh way that made people knee jerk and do things to mess the market up. You're right. First of all, let me go back and apologize to you for saying anything derogatory towards you. Now that we're man to man, face to face.
Accepted. Thank you.
I'm not going to make an excuse, but I'm going to tell you where that was coming from. At that time we were we were getting hammered by, you name it, the whole crypto space, our own families, and we were trying to show people real DeFi, what real intelligent crypto looked like. And we were being called the scammers. We were being called the fools. We were trying to educate people. And when we saw things like Dogecoin happening, it really just like it was just more slaps in the face. And so early on in this community's history, we were in a war. The SEC was after us, you name it. They were throwing agencies, and crypto was coming after us, and our own families thought we were crazy. So it was coming from all angles. So in war, people do things that we're not proud of, and I think that was one of those moments. And again, being able to stand in front of you and say, "Hey, I was a little harsh, and I probably shouldn't have been that way with you," and maybe a better explanation would have been better.
All right.
Now,
thank you.
The fact that Dogecoin went up the way it went up,
yep,
doesn't mean that I was wrong. I was right. Dogecoin is garbage. It's a meme coin. Shouldn't have done that, but it did that because of market sentiment. Hex shouldn't have dropped when Richard tweeted that tweet, because that was information that was already known by everybody. Why did they do that? Nothing changed. Hex didn't change on either chains. Pulse chain didn't change. Ethereum didn't change. Nothing changed, but market sentiment did, because Richard said something. And I don't think he intended to make people panic and dump and sell. Now, if they were really listening to Richard, what they would have done is sold their EHEX and bought PHEX.
How can you sell if it's
that should have been the market switch? But that's not what happened. We looked at the data.
How
we looked at the on-chain data.
How can you sell if you're staked out 15 years?
Well, that was liquid hex that got sold. And some people are emergency unstake their hex off of Ethereum.
Okay.
We saw a lot of that happen after that tweet. So we did a lot of on-chain analysis to look at what happened and to see if those investors moved over to the Pulse chain. And it's not what we saw. So it was weak-handed people that were looking for a pump, that were looking for the pump after Pulse chain launched, that wanted to get out. And they just got out early. And I think that we seen that before the big payday. People were coming in en masse to try and gain the system, get the big payday payout, and then dump. And then Richard changed that from happening during the adoption amplifier days. So I think it was another shakeout, to be honest. And the money that went out wasn't money that was going to stay and do the right thing and stay and use the product as it was to be used anyway. But that's just my opinion. That's just what I see. And from being around this thing long enough, my opinion on what happened.
In that opinion, in your opinion, why did Hex drop from all-time highs of 52 down to virtually zero? Why did this happen?
Because all cryptocurrencies in these bear markets drop 90%.
But using the analysis of the charts and your in-depth knowledge of the protocol, what do you feel happened there?
So there were a couple of things that happened to Hex. First of all, we have a very small niche community invested within a small community of the crypto space itself. So there was a small amount of investors. First of all, they got diluted with 3 different products. So now we had, people going into Pulse chain, people going into Pulse X. So a lot of that value split up, and no new money was coming in a bear market. Bear market starts coming, everybody runs to the hills. People start pulling their investments out of all of crypto. And that's what we see. We see trillions of dollars flow out of the market during these times. Now, this has been an elongated bear market. We haven't seen one like this or this deep for a long time. So Hex got affected more because of the delusion of the other products that were launched. Okay. So I think that's where the max pain has come from, is, not only the bear market, not only that we had a small amount of investors in a new project, but we also had two other projects, 3 technically, diluting the pool that was already there.
So you're saying Richard Hart introducing these other tokens fucked us?
Well, I don't think it made it. So it's a catch-22, right? So you die on Ethereum if you don't duplicate the coins and bring them over to Pulse Chain, which is something we haven't talked about yet that happened. So all the people that were on Ethereum, you didn't lose if you were staked 555, because now you have your 555 stakes over on Pulse Chain because the system state was copied. You got 100% copies of your hex that was staked on, and your liquid hex that was on Ethereum is now on Pulse Chain. You're welcome. So that's what happened. So you really didn't lose there. But the Pulse Chain launching saved us because now we have stakes that can come out. Now, the value is what the market says because we're down 90%. But from all-time high.
The value is what the market says, but if the market can be manipulated by the creator via a tweet like Richard made, don't you see where I'm
you
going
can only see a small percentage of loss there.
Yeah.
From all-time high. I mean, it was already down under a penny when he said that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's just sealed it, hasn't it? That's just sealed the fate of it, essentially. Even you don't think it's the go-to
moment
anymore.
In time, I think that it's been a bump. I don't think that it's sealed a fate.
Well, you've even said that it's no longer the greatest of all time. You've said it's Pulse Hex.
You keep saying that.
Oh, these are your words, though.
I'm telling you that. Okay, here. Let me put my cryptos in order for you. P Hex, E Hex, Pulse Chain, Pulse Hex, Inc. That's how I think.
Oh, that's the rating.
My
crypto
rate goes. I still think E Hex is just as good a product as P Hex. It's just running on a bad chain.
So tying this back together to the film, to The Highest of Stakes, which is the reason we're here. When I concluded that film, I instantly thought, hold on a second, what would anybody think watching that film, knowing, I mean, the first thing they're going to do is go and look at the hex chart and go, oh shit, I'm not buying into this. This is garbage, right? And then they're going to research, if they go any deeper, they'll research the creator of the thing. They'll find Richard Hart and they'll find this tweet and they'll see that Richard Hart is saying, don't touch it. Don't touch it. Use this new one on Pulse Chain. So is it fair to say that there should be an amendment made to the film to warn people to not invest in Ethereum Hex? Do you think that's fair?
No, because the film is done. And the film was never there to shill Hex. The film is there to expose this community, Richard, and the people that are that were contrary to Hex or investigating, or fraud investigators, or trying to poke holes in it. And then it gives everybody their own interpretation. Now, the mention of Pulse Chain coming out.
Hold on a sec. I got to stop you there because you just said. You said earlier that you did not know why the film was made. You had no say in it, but now you're saying this is the reason the film was made.
Yeah, because I know what their reason is now.
So you told us that you had no say in it, you had no idea of it, you just went in, gave money and put it in blindly, but now you're saying you do know why the film was made.
No, I know after the fact that it's still made. Come on. You're trying to get me on gotchas that don't exist.
Well, no, okay, so
they made a film and they told me what they did. They said, "Look, this is what we tried to do." And
okay,
here's how
tell us all
that's what their explanation to me was. I said, you guys did a great job.
The point of the Highest of Stakes was to, what was it? To showcase the community?
They wanted to expose all sides of this crypto community and this crypto.
Now, okay, that's very clear.
And they were objective.
Thank you for saying that. Okay, so you did know that, but you didn't let us know early. So, if that's the case,
no, I'm telling you what I knew after the fact.
Well, I mean,
the film's made.
You're the producer.
Like these guys, I know them. I worked with them for 2 years.
Yeah, you're the producer.
And afterwards, we had a whole nother year after that we spoke about, their intentions and what they've done. So I know these things now.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like you're so tied intrinsically to the film that it's confusing because you put all this money into it, you act in it, and then when I ask you questions about should the film have an amendment at the end of it or should it be, I mean, let's be honest, that the film shouldn't be shown at this particular point. It's bringing people to a dead cryptocurrency.
It's not dead.
EHEX.
It's the second best crypto on the planet.
Excuse me?
I said it's the second best crypto on the planet.
Looking at my staking ladder and the fees, it's not.
It's too tight for stake.
And looking at mine, it is.
The Pulse Chain
Okay, I've just
ecosystem
got to
is
switch
It's
this
this
easily
moment
the
in
most
time.
undervalued in
Thank
all
you,
of
Abdul.
That you're
crypto.
looking at.
There is
Okay.
no stronger community.
You're not looking at the code.
I mean,
You're not looking
okay,
at what's behind Hex and what Hex does.
the code is fantastic. The code is what you told me back in the day. This is why this is great, and that's why I invested. You were
Yeah,
clear.
and
It's
you were right to
immutable.
do so.
It's a blockchain CD. It's immutable. It can't be. It's written. It's working. It's flawless. Let's go. Now I've done that. People have done that. Richard Hart has now said, "Do not do that. Do this instead." Yet this documentary sits there telling you to do the thing that the guy who made it tells you not to do. There's definitely a conflict there.
Did you see the
100%.
end of the film and what it says?
I saw the end of it. Yeah, it
Did
mentions
you
pulse
see
chain. It mentions
how it
pulse
shows
X.
my buddy's value of his Hex going down 80% and what it shows at the end?
Oh, you're the guy that you got in at the all-time highs. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It shows all that.
yeah.
It shows that it's crashed. It shows you that it was like at 3 cents, I think, and now it's even at 1 cent. So anybody who goes in there and looks at it would know, and they would look at it like this: is it a better value at a penny? Is it what they say it is?
All
Do I
of
need to
that,
do my research?
completely agree with you. That's fine until Richard Hart tweeted that tweet. All of that's completely fine, and I believe you. But in Richard Hart comes out and goes, "Dudes, don't touch it. Go over here."
No, he doesn't say don't touch it. He says this is better.
He says you're dumb if you use that. You're dumb.
He says this is better.
It's very patronizing. He's very patronizing in his verbiage.
It feels that way because that's his. I've been around Richard for a long time. Me and Richard have met. We talked. We had conversations. So I know him. He is not a. When it comes to an argument, when it comes to education and bringing a point, he's very harsh, very, very harsh. And his discernment with how he treats people when he does that is, I think, lacking, in my opinion. So people need to be able to understand how to take that with a grain of salt and read between the lines and see what he's really saying versus taking what he's saying personally and then being butthurt about it, because that's what happens is people get butthurt over what Richard says and they miss the real message. The real message has always been, I want Hex to be expensive and valuable on both chains. It's the same code. This chain is better. That chain is worse.
He has said
right
that
now
in the past, but he's not saying that now. Now he's saying the market has spoken, aka I spoke. And I'm telling you that
no, he's saying the market spoke because of the value of the difference in value.
I guess it took a year for the market to sort of work itself out after Pulse launched, and then it's shown that the P hex is more valuable than the E hex. Then Richard comes out
because people that are coming in now are buying P hex because it's more affordable for them to stake.
Yeah,
and now you can stake for 30 days. Right. Like you can't go over to Ethereum and stake for 30 days and make gains on it. You're paying fees and you're losing your stake.
I mean, people were making daily stake ladders, weren't they, back in the day?
Oh, they're wrecked. They're gone. That's all gone.
Completely wrecked. But just to throw that back, those people that did that with the advice of, OG streamers saying get a staking ladder.
No, I never told nobody to stake a daily.
I remember you told a 21-year-old to stake for 15 years. Do you still stand by that?
Yes.
On EHEX?
That's riskier on EHEX because I don't know in 15 years if Ethereum is going to be fixed. I would imagine it would be.
So,
but that's
your
somebody's risk tolerance.
To a young
I'm not
person.
going to say that EHEX is not a bargain and not good because it is. The chain is broken. You're gambling on whether Ethereum is going to fix itself because if Ethereum fixes itself, guess what? EHEX is fine. It's the same product.
Is everything else on Ethereum broken or only Hex?
I think everything with high S loads and everything that requires fees to be paid for you to operate it and for new projects to come out, it's broke. Oh, good. The echo's gone.
What was the echo?
Oh, it was just me talking to my ear the whole time. It was very hard.
I didn't change
Now
anything.
it's gone.
Yeah, that's strange.
That is strange.
Yeah, so
So so a 21-year-old.
yeah.
So so we're in crypto. We're not in dollars. If you're young, if you have a time horizon like that, if you're in your 20s, I'm 57 years old. I don't have 15-year stakes left in me, maybe one and a half or so. But you know, a young person that's coming in and they're getting into the crypto game, and I think crypto is going to be the biggest transference of wealth the world has ever seen. I think that it's going to stick around. I think that people are going to become very wealthy in it, and I think that the tools that are here now are things that people can actually lock into that can change their life situation, which is what I'm really here to talk about. Is, you know, like all of my buddies that I work with for 30 years as a millwright in the field, I moved heavy equipment. I was a working stiff, blue collar grunt guy, and those guys don't have a pot to piss in. We have this thing called the 401k out here, and they're all 104ks now. There's no money, there's no pensions, there's no retirements. I didn't have anything. I was scared, and I was trying to find something. And then I found Hex. And when I look at in investment tools, you know, when somebody sits me down and says, okay, we're gonna get a stock, or we're gonna get something, and we're talking 10, 15-year time horizons on CDs and all this stuff, right? So telling somebody who's gonna make an APY of at least 20 to 30% that you need to get in and put this out for you're 21 years old. You should be putting this out for 15 years. You know, you should be making 15-year stakes. Now, I'm not saying you can't invest some for 5 and 10 years and make some staking ladders and do some staking for, you know, maybe your college education or something like that. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do things like that, but definitely. If you're young and you're looking to make a high return, 15-year stakes are really the best way to go. And you know, there isn't any other vehicle out there that's going to return a 20 to 30% APY. And there's a reason why Hex is always going to be that. And this is why I see the value on both chains.
Would you lean towards Pulse Hex or eHex at that point, given that you think that eHex might fix itself?
So here's my advice to people. I tell them when people ask me like, hey, what should I get? And I go, okay, well, what's your risk tolerance? I said, here's what you have. You have 2 hexes. They operate the same. They function the same.
Yeah.
Right now, Ethereum, the number one, ERC20 blockchain in crypto, fees are broken. The S loads are broken. They are charging way too much. To take a stake out, it's ridiculous. To send transactions anywhere is ridiculous. Try and build a project is ridiculous. You could either buy cheaper Hex over there and hold off and hope that Ethereum fixes itself. Now, that's a risk. That's a higher risk. Or you can get a more solid product over here that has cheap fees that is the exact same thing on this side over here. I'm not going to sit there and tell somebody, you should buy this one. I'm going to let them know exactly what they're looking at.
Yeah.
Hex isn't broken.
That's fair.
The chain is broken.
That's solid advice.
So and that's how they have to look at it. Because if you just say, if I sat here and said, oh no, eHex is garbage, you should be over in pHex, I'm lying. Because I'm not giving the information that I know. I know that Hex is fine on Ethereum.
Did you know that before Richard's tweet, or did Richard's tweet?
Yes.
So Richard wasn't speaking to you at that point. You already knew the things he included in that tweet.
Of course. I've been here since the day one.
Right.
I know what's going on. I've watched this whole thing from the beginning.
Are you?
I did things that Richard didn't even know could be done.
Such as?
Well, when we were in the adoption amplifier, people were staked short like a year. And some of their stakes were coming up in 6 months after the adoption amplifier ended, meaning they were going to get big paydays. And I told everybody, I said, hey, there's no penalty for emergency unstaking stakes that are halfway finished. You should emergency unstake your stakes and push them out further so you get a bigger payday and you get more Hex. And people that did that were like, oh my gosh, RG, you saved my bags. You got me more T-shares. It was great advice. And Richard even said, hey, some people are coming up with things that I didn't even know we could or should or would want to do.
Is that coded a half-ended stake has no penalties if you emergency end stake? I didn't know
that's
that.
in the code.
Yeah,
yeah.
wow,
If you serve 50% of your time, you don't get any penalties. You get your principal back, 100% of your principal back.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
so
interesting
that's a piece of the code that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Because think about this. Think about your 15-year stake, right? So let's just say you go 7.5 years, right? And let's just say Hex is $100, $500. We don't know what it's going to be 7.5 years from now. Would it be beneficial to, like, if you look at a 15-year stake and you go, oh my gosh, that thing's worth, $100,000.
Yep.
Now I could wait another 7.5 years.
Yep.
Or maybe some of these bigger stakes are, that's worth $1 million. I can emergency end stake it right now and have $1 million, or I can wait another 7.5 years and see where it's going to be 7.5 years from now, which that's always the better option, is to wait and get your gains and your returns versus emergency end staking it. But I think that's something we're going to see when the 7.5 year mark comes. That's going to be very interesting to see what happens at the 7.5 year mark, because there are so many 15-year stakes. I think that we're going to see a lot of emergency end stakes at the 7.5 year mark, and people are going to be pulling that out, and we're going to see another big crash.
A bigger crash from now? That would
no, but we'll see a big crash. I mean, and I don't know where Hex price will be at that point, and what's a big crash if we go from $100 to $50 or $25, or
right,
what I mean? Or it could be 50 cents and go back down to 20 cents or something. Who knows? We don't know what the price. That's the one unknown that we all have here, is that we don't know what the price of Hex is, but we do know the code and what it does, and it automatically does what it does all the time.
Speaking to a complete noob, let's just think that someone is asking a very general question.
Yeah.
What drives the price of a crypto asset up?
People holding it and not selling it. That's always what.
So people buying and holding.
Buying and holding and not selling. And that's what Hex encourages.
Hex encourages this because you buy and then you hold by locking it into the contract via the staking mechanism. So
yes,
you've said
and you participate in the inflation.
That's right. You've said before that the Hex community is quite small. Some big players, but a small amount of them. Is that fair to say?
We've got big players, and I mean, as far as crypto is concerned, we're a small community, a small amount of investors. I think now it's getting a little more diluted as far as how many big wallets we have. I think a lot of the bigger wallets have liquidated, and we're starting to see a little bit more of some of the whales that were cashing out are gone. We've seen a lot of wallets drain. A lot of the big wallets drain out during this bear market.
So extrapolating that from that step forward, would it also be safe to say that if the price of a crypto asset only goes up when people buy and hold and not sell, then the small community that we have here, the bulk of them didn't do the thing that Richard was saying to do, to buy and hold a stake. Instead, they bought and traded. And so we've only really got ourselves to blame. Yet people made a lot of money doing that. Yourself,
I think those are people that were not really. I think they came in for the gains. They saw it run up 10,000x, and we had a lot of people jump in.
Isn't that what you did?
No.
You told us you made money early in Hex.
Off stakes. I make money off stakes.
And you sold after. Yeah. So in the first year, you staked.
I put rain gutters on my house. I don't have Ferraris. I don't, my wealth is in crypto. My wealth stays in crypto. I live a modest lifestyle. I drive a pickup truck, a small pickup truck, not even a full size one. I'm retired.
You said you've made generational wealth.
Yes. So my stakes are 15 years long.
So you haven't made
generational. Well, it's there even at a penny. I mean, I've got money.
You got a bit. You light up. Your whole face just changed at that point when you said that. You really lit up like a Christmas tree. So the point I'm making, and I don't.
Well, you saw the price that you saw what the price of Hex was in the beginning, right?
Right.
Okay, so imagine it at a penny. If you were in at 0.00000, and it's a penny and a half, and you have it on two chains,
but
and you have stakes that have made over 100% APY.
So you have
now double.
you have a great bag, but you've also managed to sell some and generate enough money to finance a film.
Well,
do
here's
these
what I
pulse chain
do.
tours, do all this.
There's other
community.
things yeah, there's other things, and I put a lot of money back.
You're
into
no
the
longer
community.
working your trade, are you? You're not lifting up.
No,
everything.
I retired last year. I've been retired for a year now.
So you've retired. So you've obviously made enough money to sustain a family, and create a production house and fund a film, and the Pulse tours and all the extra peripheral stuff.
Yeah.
And the streaming for no money. So what I was getting at, and the reason I was bringing this up, is you said that it's a small community. You also said that the only way a crypto goes up is if you buy and hold. But you're a person who's considered an OG of your own saying, yet you've made money. So at some point, you sold on our heads.
At some point, everybody has to sell if you're going to make any gains.
Yeah.
You can't make gains if you don't sell.
It stands out more in a small community. If the OG is telling you stake, I sold, I'm rich. You should stake, I sold. You should stake.
No, but I'm still staked, and I'm still staking.
Yeah,
my staking ladder, the principal comes out, and the gains come out, and then the principal goes back all the way out 5 years and goes back. So I have a perpetual staking ladder. My staking ladder doesn't end. I don't cash out all that crypto, and I don't cash out all my crypto because I also participate in validating. I participate in liquidity providing. I have passive income coming in from crypto.
Even at the price of Hex now.
Even at the price of Hex now.
So you must
I've made mad gains in
massive
crypto,
bag.
and I utilize that crypto to make passive income. And I live a modest lifestyle. I don't have Ferraris and live on the beach. I live in a typical neighborhood. I drive a small truck. I put rain gutters on my house. And now I'm retired and giving back to the community that has given to me. So the value that I extract is minimal compared to what I give back.
Are you producing another film?
We'd like to.
No, nothing solid yet. Then
nothing solid, but we're talking about it. Yeah, definitely.
Are we talking the next step in the film or something entirely?
Yeah,
separate?
I'd like to see a follow up to the Highest of Stakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that seeing how we do in this bull market would probably, determine which way the production crew is going to want to take the film. But I'd be willing to do it either way. Even if this whole crypto thing crashes and burns. And by the way, I'm getting into politics, the whole thing. You name it. I'm advocating for DeFi.
Would you like to have more of a say in the film this time, like more of a directorial say? You don't want to.
No.
So you're
I
happy
want
just
them to do their thing.
You're happy just to give the money and let them come up with something.
Well, this time I think that we wouldn't do it that way. I think that they've set up the production company to take on the next film, and we would just be the sweat equity in it this time. Right. I think that the franchise is already been birthed, and we can make another film.
That's your company, though.
No, it's not my company.
You and Kinetics didn't go hand in hand for that.
No. It's not our company. We're just stakeholders by being producers. That's it.
Great. Okay. What do you think? What do hexagons get by what? No. What do hexagons receive when people watch the Highest of Stakes? When that gets out into the cinemas like it did on the release, and now that it's in the Emirates flights to Dubai, what do hexagons? What's the feeling? What's the return on that for the hexagons?
Well, there's been mixed feelings. I've gotten hate mail. I've gotten memed for it. I've been, every which way to Sunday told that I was a fool, that it was cringe, this and that. And then I've gotten massive praise. People have been, saying thanks that we helped onboard somebody with it and this and that. And
people are onboarding people still to Hex from that film.
Yeah. If you show people the community and what was done, and you explain it the way I've explained it, and you set somebody down and you go, here's the situation right now. We are in a market that has gone down 90%. All of crypto has gone down. And Hex is at its all-time lows right now.
Yeah.
So really, this is a buying opportunity. This isn't a run away and don't get involved.
Okay, until Richard made that tweet. That's my point. All of those things you said are correct, and I agree. But
it's still a buying opportunity in Pulse Chain. Hex on Pulse Chain is still a buying opportunity.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, on Ethereum, it's a buying opportunity with a little more risk tolerance involved. So that's how I would sit down with somebody and tell them. And I'd say, look, here's what's going on. Hex on Pulse Chain works this way and is better. Pulse Chain was made to make Hex work better. Ethereum Hex is the same code. I mean, I can keep going over this with you, but it's the same. It's the same message.
I feel like we've hit this point a couple of times, and I
and just telling people that is how you would if somebody was done with the film and they were like, wow, and so where's Hex now? Well, let's talk about that. So now it's like, but here's the opportunity for you.
That's why
the
I think
opportunity for you is
there needs to be an amendment to it to say this has happened since the film. And here is the creator of the token saying, please don't, like, I've told you, listen to me, don't invest here instead. So anybody that takes the advice or takes inspiration from the film and from the community and then goes and buys Ethereum Hex, they're doing it wrong. That's my, and I will say too, it shouldn't be personal, but it is personal when you did it wrong for so long. So I've done it wrong from the start, and I'm staked out 15 years. And then Richard said, don't do that anymore. And now I feel like, okay, well, what do? I just hope that it goes up in price and wait the 15 years.
You have your,
I have the
stakes
others. Of course, yeah.
Okay, so you didn't lose, and him just saying, hey, this over here is better, is just telling new people now coming in, you have an option.
So we agree.
You can either
so he
deal
needs to,
with.
That needs to be on the film, or that needs to be added to the I don't know, somehow to the film where people.
But see, the film isn't responsible for that. Those people that made that film aren't responsible for that.
That's true. That's true.
They just put the information that they had at the time. It's just like any other film that you can't just amend a film and say, hey, we're gonna.
But you can as the producer, you can come out and make statements.
Well, I do make statements like this. This is the statement.
Don't invest
and I'm not going to
E-Hex.
say E-Hex is dead. And I don't think Richard said E-Hex is dead. I think Richard is very harsh in his words, and he said this one's better.
He said, I've told you all this before, but likely some of you don't listen so well. So I'm telling you again. Hex is Hex on Pulse Chain. He's clearly saying, do not touch Hex on Ethereum. And I think there's a responsibility from the filmmakers, yourself as the producer, to get this message out there that this film might have been current when it was being produced, but it's not current now.
I think it is. I honestly think it is. I don't think that there's.
So you disagree with Richard then?
I don't disagree with Richard, but I disagree with how people are interpreting what Richard said.
It's pretty clear. I mean, he doesn't.
It's not clear to me. The message that you're saying Richard said is not what I understand.
I've told you all this before, but likely some of you don't listen so well. I'm telling you again. Hex is Hex on Pulse Chain.
That just means, see, you're missing the semantics here. He has changed the name. There is no more there is no P Hex. It's Hex. He is taking the name Hex.
You think that's just in relation to the name change?
Issuing it to, yes, I know that is, because that's what he said. I don't know what we're going to call one another and this and that. And Hex is now on Pulse Chain. He wants that to be the real Hex. Now, whatever happens over there can happen over there. It's the same code, but Ethereum's got its head up its ass. And until it takes its head out, it's not going to, right. Hex isn't going to be any good over there.
The two paragraphs before that, he's basically saying, do not engage with that one. Leave Ethereum Hex. Hex is Hex. It's on Pulse. Here is what you need to.
Yeah. I mean, I don't interpret it that way. I don't.
Let me ask you this.
But
what is a meme coin?
A meme coin is just a coin that anybody can create with a name that can be sent and received. That's it.
So no utility.
And you put it's no utility. Yeah. It's just sent back and forth. Dogecoin. Bitcoin. Bitcoin's really, other than it's also its own blockchain, but it just send and receive. That's it. That's all it does. Now, it could have a marketing theory behind it. It could have people behind it. It can have all, when Elon Musk gets on Saturday Night Live and says Dogecoin is the bee's knees, then now it's got value because it has speculative value. So
It still has no utility aside from trading.
well, 100%. 100%.
So would you agree that Ethereum Hex is a meme coin?
No, because it has utility.
It's not. You can't really stake that and lock it with these Ethereum gas fees. Okay, fair enough. They're quite low at the moment, but typically they've been ridiculous. So therefore, the utility.
But that doesn't mean that it's not a utility coin. It still is. It still has utility. It
It's
still can be
virtually
staked out
unusable at the state of the Ethereum.
because of Ethereum. So that doesn't make it a meme coin.
Okay.
That makes Ethereum broken. Again, we got to keep you got to point, the finger where the finger needs to be pointed, and that's at Ethereum. It has nothing to do with Hex. Hex worked fine before Ethereum's fees went nuts.
Yep. True.
And it still works the same right now. There's nothing wrong with eHex. It is 100% the same product that pHex is, but it operates on a better chain. That's all.
Didn't Richard Hart say that he wanted Hex to be nice, highly priced on both chains? That was what he was always saying.
I mentioned that earlier.
Yeah. So he's pivoted.
Now, there's an interesting theory that I'd like to lay before you so that you can understand where I'm really coming from. Okay, let's look at the insurance market. The insurance market goes out and puts trillions of dollars into the market to eke out 2 and 3% returns for their investments on a regular basis. So there's guys out there sweating and worrying and staying up all night to try and eke out this 3% in the market to trade for their insurance companies, right? So imagine being able to get into an asset class, and let's just say crypto's finally adopted, and everybody's starting to trust it, and immutability is the key, and the code is the key, and decentralized finance is the key, and we get rid of all the centralization and this idiocy that's out there with all this, the people taking your keys and your crypto. Let's just say that now we have a solid place where we can make gains, solid gains. There's been a lot of criticism over a little thing in the code that's called the adoption or the OA. Mm-hmm. And the OA is where a lot of the coins go to sit as a circulating supply, keeping the market cap high and also keeping Hex out of the staking pool. So currently, the Hex staking pool has about 8%, 9% of the circulating Hex is staked. So there's only a liquid supply of about 7 or 8% that's out there that can actually come into the staking pool. The rest is in the OA. That's where the originating address holds most of the circulating supply, sits there. And that keeps the pool from getting diluted from the stakers. So even if all the Hex was staked, now let's just say all the pHex, let's just put like 14% of the Hex is completely staked. You're never going to drop the APY because the 3.69% of inflation that comes out and lands on the stakes, so that Hex that comes out is divided amongst that staking pool. And right now it's only divided amongst 7%, 8%, maybe it's 9%, somewhere around there. 9% of the circulating Hex is getting the inflation, right? So even if you took the rest of the circulating supply and dumped it in, the more circulating supply that goes into the pool, the less the stakers get. So you go from a 38% APY, which is our average right now, maybe down to about a 20% APY. Now, that's the key. Globally, looking at this product, imagine insurance investors, companies going, I know a place where we can put our money and we can make crypto gains at 20% automatic, no matter what, because there's not enough crypto out there to dilute this pool to drop it down below 20%. A 20% return
do
automatic.
Do they look that deep into code and contract though? Do these people look? I mean,
not yet.
You do. But
not yet. And that's why I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, trying to teach people how to look at this. Now, imagine if that industry does see this and apes into Pulse Chain and gets all the Hex that they can. Because there's not much. There really isn't much. Imagine a big market, and that's just one market that's out there trying to make gain. What happens if that pHex dries up and all that you can get out is the stakes that come out and people that dump it? Then guess what? They're going to go looking for another Hex. Well, there just happens to be another Hex on Ethereum that operates exactly the same. that has even a less diluted pool
You think
because
they'll-
people have been using the pulse chain.
You think they'll jump chains like that? They'll come across to another chain.
Damn straight for 20% returns. Yep.
I mean, your enthusiasm is infectious. You've always been like this, you know. You've always been.
But I'm just stating facts.
Yeah, yeah.
These are facts about the code. This is code.
There's a lot of
this
what ifs
isn't
in
like
there, though.
There's hardly any, to be honest. The what if is the value that the people put into it. The what if is the people that dump their liquid hex, that panic, that don't see this, that don't understand it like somebody like me.
Yeah.
The reason I do have the wealth and the money that I have is because I know what this product does and I know how to use it, and others don't.
Can I hit back on that? And can I suggest that the reason you have the amount of wealth you have is because you heard about something early enough and you aped in. Would that be fair?
I learned how to utilize it too.
At a low price, a very low price.
I unpeeled it. I unpeeled the onion of hex and exposed it to everybody while I was doing it, and learned how to stake, and learned how to set up staking ladders. Learned how to set up a 3-year time horizon so that I could retire. I waited 3 years for my retirement to come up. You know, my staked hex and all-time highs and all that, the gains that I made,
yeah.
I worked for it. And it was, when guys like you and me look at it, it was a very short retirement plan,
yes.
3-year plan. You know what I mean?
Most people wait 60 years for that.
But it wasn't a get rich quick overnight. It wasn't, I'm going to get into this crypto and when it goes all-time highs, I'm jumping out and I'm going to make my millions. That wasn't what it was about. It was about trickling in value. It was about creating a marketing plan and help this community expose itself. It was about doing everything that I could to get exposure to it.
Why was it about those community things? Like why did you start a community if all you've done is found a crypto with intriguing code that you can make money off? I don't understand why then all of a sudden you've got to be a streamer. You've got to be going out there marketing it. Don't you just have to use the thing?
Yes. But to whom much is given, much is expected, in my opinion. I thought.
Say that again. But to whom much is
given, much is expected.
So you've almost felt like you've got to be benevolent to everybody else because you.
No, not just benevolent.
But you donated to me. You came in and gave me.
I got friends that are sitting on the couch worrying about how they're going to retire. But they're in their 50s.
RG, you guys, not you specifically or in particular, but you guys all came into my streams, rated me, and gave me hex. Why?
Well, because we want to expose people like you who are out there speaking about these things, who have intelligence, knowledge, exposure, reach. We want to show the world what real crypto is about. And this is the first real crypto that has ever been launched. In my opinion, all of the other things were proofs of concept. Bitcoin was a proof of concept. We could send and receive an online transaction, peer-to-peer, over the internet securely. That's what Bitcoin did. Now, what's the next advancement? Ethereum. Ethereum proved that we could program this crypto to do really cool stuff. But both of those things failed. Bitcoin failed as cash, as digital cash, like it was supposed to be. Ethereum failed at creating a network that people can utilize. They have an opportunity to fix themselves. I'm not saying that it's completely failed, but at this point, Ethereum is almost unusable to the people who want to go out and build these things. And they're building them on Pulse chain now. You know, we've built our own crypto. I've got my own crypto out there, and it's a concept, and we're not, shilling it or getting anybody to buy it or any of that stuff. We're proving concepts over here because now it's cheap enough to do so, and that's what we're doing. This was a proof of concept.
Do you think that marketing hex in the way that OGs and streamers have done, do you think that that happened because Richard wanted people to do that? He wanted you to stream and he wanted you to outreach and make postcards and get DeLoreans and rent Lamborghinis and NASCARs. Do you think he wanted people to do that? And
I don't. He's criticized most all of it.
Yeah.
And he's never even said thank you for the stuff that I've done or we've done. To be honest, like, the SEC came at me asking me if Richard's paid me, and of course there was. Richard's never given me a dime, let alone even a thank you. You know, so he's done a real good job of being a founder. But here's what I know, and this is where my knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and leadership comes in. I know that this space is immutable, that this space is supposed to be for the people, by the people. And nobody should be traditionally marketing it or putting something together that should market it, right? It should be the people doing it. Now, how do you do that? You got to get leadership behind that first. You've got to get people out there being loud. You've got to build a community that can get behind each other and go out and push the narrative and educate and get understanding and bring people in. And that's what we were doing. We were building community. We were building guerrilla marketing. We were building a network. We were working on, creating the Metcalfe's law effect. That's what we're working on, is to expose as many people to this as possible so that they'll quit getting scammed by crypto and we don't lose crypto.
Now,
and that's all of our fears. And that's what we're trying to negate.
In the early days, though, Richard was streaming and outreaching and talking in discussion panels and arguing with people.
Yeah, he came on my show plenty of times.
Yeah, right. I recall. And he came out and he did this and did that. And then he slowly tapered off. And then he just went on the great hiatus of whatever the year was, 2022 or whatever. And he disappeared. I'm just speculating that, is it safe to sort of conclude that in the initial launch of Hex, Richard's out there with his top hat, going off, ranting and raving and killing everybody in arguments. Great entertainment, like very, very interesting watching, fun. Yeah, the greatest time to be introduced to crypto, let me just tell you. Then you get this other swarming of creators that start this thing, this let's say a pulse starts building from the bottom up, and there's these communities, and then there's the Matty Orlean with his conferences, and this starts building up. And as that happens, Richard gets less and less and less and less out there in the public. Of course, he went through his outrage marketing fiasco, and then he just came back and went, by the way, I'm done with saying anything. Now, everybody that's taken that role has taken some of the audience that would have been watching Richard, and they've taken it onto themselves. The point I want to ask you is that important for Hex and to extent Pulse and Pulse Chain? Is that important that people do that? Because what if everybody just said, well, Richard's not doing jack shit, so also let's us not do jack shit. And then everybody just shuts up and we just use the contracts and make money. Why do we need to tweet? Why do we need to have this discussion? Why do we need a film? Richard doesn't want it. He doesn't, like you said, he doesn't even thank you for it. So why does everybody expect why do we do this?
Well, he has said that. So if you've listened to what Richard has said, he said, if you guys want something, you go do it. You want advertising, you go do it. You want marketing, you go do it. You want to build something, you go do it. I'm not doing it for you. You go do it.
But he built the contract.
Because
he built the code. Like, what? I don't get that. All of a sudden,
he built it. He put it out, and it's there for us to utilize and go share.
But then what happened was the Ethereum gas fees skyrocketed, and Richard suddenly went, okay, I'll keep creating something for you. I'll create a new thing for you. It's called Pulse Chain. So,
well, something worse happened to us in the early stages that really set the stage for all this, and that was the gatekeeping. The gatekeeping was probably the biggest catalyst for the community development.
Sure.
Not only were we ostracized by all of crypto, not only was Richard, called the biggest scammer in crypto, who never scammed anybody, who was on stream with Mashinsky, was on stream with all these others, talked about FTX and get out of there and what are you guys doing?
Fantastic,
and all those guys ended up in orange jumpsuits.
Yeah.
And and Richard's not, and Richard's actually the guy. And I think right now one of the reasons why he's really hunkered down and doing what he's doing is because I think he is working on his play against the SEC. This case with Richard and the SEC is going to be a big deal. He is working on putting together a solid ironclad case for crypto, for DeFi, and it couldn't have been at a better time because we are coming under fire. We're in big trouble with regulatory as far as them coming at us. We've got BlackRock buying all the Bitcoin right now. So like the institutions own the crypto. The SEC is gunning for it. DeFi is getting ostracized as being, the thing that is where the money launderers, the terrorists, and the drug dealers exist, which is not the truth. The truth is that guys like me exist out here. Guys like me who are trying to feed their families exist out here. Guys like me who are trying to feed their families and help others that are trying to feed their families and get out of this mess that the world has put us middle-class people in. We're the ones that they should be looking at, not the bull crap, money laundering stuff that it really isn't happening. They can figure out a way to regulate that stuff, just like they do with cash. More cash is done, nefariously than crypto. And that's the narrative they're trying to pin on us. In the early days, they put us, CoinMarketCap put us on page 201. No matter what our market cap was, they put us on page 201. It was a lie. It was wrong for them to do so, and we even sued them. And that lawsuit is still going on. We called CZ out for it. We said that he was a bad actor in this space, that he's the one that has been doing all of these things, gatekeeping and bilking people. And guess what? He just confessed 2 days ago to all the stuff that we said he was doing. He's the one who brought FTX down. And the reason he brought FTX down is because he knew what they were doing, because he was doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So he beat them at their game and said, hey, everybody, look at them. Look at what they did. Don't look at me.
Even still,
look at them.
Even still, Richard,
and now he's caught.
Doesn't thank you for that. Richard doesn't step up and say thanks for all that. He
doesn't have to. And the further away from the community he stays, really, the better, I think.
You think? But community needs a leader, doesn't it?
That's who we are. We're the leaders.
We are all Negan. Is that what you're saying? We're all the leaders.
Yeah, we're all the leaders. Nobody is, and everybody is. It's who gets out there and does the best work, and who puts the best narrative, and who cares the most, and who helps the most people. That's what this is. That's what crypto's for. Is for all of us to go out there and do it. If we don't do it, if the people don't do it, then a centralized agency has to do it. And if that's the case, then we've lost this whole crypto thing. We've lost the concept behind it. It's not ours anymore. If it's ours, we have to take ownership of it. And we have to be accountable to that. And that's why I do what I do. This is not for gains, to make gains on my hex. This is to go out and do something for real. I've always wanted to do something good. I've never been unhappy with my lot in life. I pulled myself up from the ashes. I lived under a bridge at one point, and here I am, change that whole thing. And then, one day I can tell the whole story, but I mean, to whom much is given, much is expected. And I want to go out there and help people. Really do want to go help people. And I think I have. Now, market going up and going down, that little speck of time within a 2 or 3 year span, that's just, market sentiment. That has nothing. I've never promoted a scam. I've never promoted anything that has hurt anybody. Have things gone wrong, like Ethereum attacking us? Have things gone wrong, like CoinMarketCap putting us on 201? Have things gone wrong, like every crypto guy out there come at us and call us scammers? The number one guys out there who everybody listens to, saying that we're the fools, that we're lying, we're cheating, and that we're doing stuff that we're not. I mean, that's what we've had to deal with. And then for the stuff that we do that's good, we get questioned all the time. And that's why I get excited when I hear people telling me, well, you said this and you said that. Man, I have been trying to help this whole time. And Hex has been Hex the whole time. I've never been wrong. I've never had to pull a stream down. But I still get questioned as, am I the bad guy? Are you and Richard the bad guys? No, we're not the bad guys. We're the fucking good guys.
Well,
we're the ones trying to fix shit.
I got to be honest. That's why we're having this discussion. I watched that movie and I instantly thought, there's some things that aren't adding up. There's some things that need questioning. I couldn't believe nobody else didn't ask these questions, because the film's been out for over a year, well over a year.
Yeah, and we got to remember that we built that while Hex was going up and hit all-time highs. We were done at all-time highs. Well, it was like, it was at euphoria at that point.
Yeah.
We didn't know that we were going to have a market crash like this. Yeah. We didn't know that, I mean, and that's what this is really about. If we were at or above where we were then, this wouldn't even be a question.
That's a good point. Were the Lambos rented?
Oh, Richard's, no.
Right.
Richard owns, I think, almost all of those cars that you saw.
Okay.
I don't. He doesn't own the helicopter, and he doesn't own the. I think the truck. I'm not sure. I think they rented that truck to go riding out in the tundra with.
Yeah.
But all of those Ferraris and stuff. He has a lot of cars too, and
How's
the
your
Diamond
how's
and
your
all that
back?
stuff.
I know you don't mention it in the film, but you talked about you messed your back up on a shooting day. Is it healed now?
It'll never be healed.
Ooh.
I mean, I work on it constantly. I have I go to therapy, and I work out 4 times a week.
Yeah.
And I have therapy, and I don't do the job that I used to do anymore, so
No.
that's helped a lot. Right now I'm sitting down on this chair, and it just it's when you're 57 years old and you've traded your back for dollars.
Yeah.
That's what you end up
Yeah,
with.
yeah.
Maybe one day I'll be able to fly to Europe somewhere and get some stem cell work or something
stem cell
done.
treatment. We I mean, I feel like we're naturally coming to the conclusion here of the discussion. Definitely, I've got some points that we've hit all of them. It's funny, man. The way this discussion's kind of rolled, it's been it's the same as it was for me back in whenever you guys came in on the D live stream. I've been listening to you and learning as I've been going along. So regardless of you might have thought my intention here was to get you and come out here swinging. It wasn't. My intention was to clear up these concerns that I had, and to that end, I feel like you have cleared those questions up. It is still unusual that the idea of 5555 isn't mentioned in the film. That's unusual.
Yeah.
I still think that there needs to be an amendment to tell people not to invest in EHEX. But here we are.
I don't.
You don't.
I don't want to tell people not to invest in EX.
Yeah, and only because of RH's tweet. That's where I'm at, and I think we can agree to disagree.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to say that I didn't kind of tap into naturally during this conversation that you want to address, or?
Well, I think we tapped into everything. Once again, I want to apologize to you for any harsh words you might have felt at the time.
Accepted.
I'm definitely not that type of person. We were at war.
Right. I'll say this: I wasn't at war with you, but I definitely copped a few stray bullets. But
you did.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. So no, I just wanted to mention that, and that it's about education, and that's why I do what I do, and that echoes back again. But
SJ doing something in the back end. I haven't changed anything at my end. Strange.
But yeah, it's about education, and that's why I'm still going out there, because it is about education. It's not about promotion, really. The more and more people know about Hex, what it really is, about the history, about what crypto's done to it, about what eHex really is, about the future, about what things can really look like. That's what's important. Is that people see that, not market swings.
Right. We've had word changes in Hex over the years. Like I think, what was before the APY, the wording changed there for I can't recall what it was before.
Oh, they were talking about interest and now
became
it's
yield. Yeah.
Yield.
Is it fair to say that the word onboarding should be changed to educating? Because onboarding sounds like you're just bringing people in as a base level triangular Ponzi type scheme. We're onboarding. We're educating.
Yeah.
It should be we're educating, right? Would you agree with that?
I agree with that. Educating, and I think that, and I'm working with a crew from Blizzard Entertainment, the original designers of Blizzard Entertainment, on a new NFT project where we're trying to bring people into crypto without them even know they're getting into crypto.
Right.
So they're buying entertainment, gaming, audio books, those kinds of things. And a wallet is being created in the background in their account. And they're utilizing crypto through that account without them even knowing. And then eventually learning that they have a wallet, learning that they have a cryptocurrency in there, learning that they're utilizing it to function within this system. So I think that, education or onboarding processes have to get better.
Yeah.
They definitely have to get more simple. I mean, look at the learning curve to get into Pulse Chain now. Like,
That's huge. Yeah.
how do you tell a new person to get into Pulse Chain? It's like, okay, well, first it's going to take us 3 weeks to get you in, but we're going to go try and get you a Gemini or a Coinbase account or some way for you to get your money into crypto. Then we're going to create a DeFi wallet, and then we're going to put you into this chain, and then we're going to bridge you over to what's a bridge? All this other stuff. There's so many barriers to entry right now. I think that's our biggest challenge in crypto. So education, breaking down these barriers to entry. So I'm hoping and rooting on all the smart people that are in the background trying to break down the barriers to entry while I go out and try and educate and bring attention. That's what the community's for. That's what we're needed for, because Richard's not going to do it.
Is the education in the curriculum, does that include watching The Highest of Stakes? Would you recommend people watch that?
I never really recommend the movie. I don't tell people to watch it. And I mean, that sounds kind of dumb for a guy that produced a film that he's supposed to, get his return on.
Exactly.
But I don't use it as an onboarding or educational tool, because that's not what the film was for. No. The film, they wanted to expose this community, and that's not something that I want to teach people in crypto, that I want to bring into crypto about. Like, if I sat somebody down and going, let me tell you about this really cool community about Richard and about, the other people that dislike this crypto and what that means. That's not how I'm going to onboard somebody. So it's not really a tool for me to do so. Now, I've heard people have used it.
Did you mean how you're going to educate somebody? You just said how you're going to onboard somebody.
Yeah, exactly. I know you just changed the narrative, but I mean, when I sit down with somebody and bring them into crypto, and they've asked me to do so, and I do that on a regular basis. I just did it a couple of days ago with an old friend. I don't tell him to watch that movie prior, or it's part of the process. I will tell them, hey, I'm in a movie. I'm in a movie that these guys did, and da 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 da, and they'll go, oh, cool, and they'll watch it. Of course, family and everybody, but I don't use it as a tool to bring people into crypto, because I don't think that's what it's for. It was an exposure tool. It was a tool that people can see what this community is and make their own decision on whether or not they even want to take a second look.
Do you think that with the amount of streamers out there, the amount of Hex-related content, Pulse Chain-related content, do you think that there needs to be a film? I mean, the Hexicans are out there everywhere tweeting different spaces and live streams and conferences. I feel like it's doing its own promoting, if you like.
I think we need more.
Okay.
We have 2 to 3% of the world is in crypto, and a small percentage of those are in the Hex Pulse Chain ecosystem. We have hardly anybody here. Nobody knows who we are. Nobody knows what we're doing.
Is that going to change with BitBoy on board? The biggest name in the space. He's on board now with his not Studio 5. What's the
I can't recall what he calls it.
Yeah,
but
he's on board.
It's nice to have more exposure. We got Donovan Jolly, another large YouTuber. We've got Ben leaning in, and they're leaning in. They're not promoting this wholeheartedly. They've got their own agendas and the stuff that they're doing. So and that's fine. That's fine. It brings more exposure. But we're going to get people that do that. They're going to come here and they're going to try and extract value, or they're going to try and add and extract value at the same time, kind of give and take. So I don't want to call them, like value extractors, but they're coming here because it's a good chain. They're coming here because they know the narrative and they understand it, and they've learned that Hex isn't what the whole crypto space was saying it was.
Can I say? There seems to be a change in approach, in the sense that a little whiles ago, there was the notion that you can't talk about anything aside from Richard Hart products. That was a big thing. Now, you just mentioned you've got an NFT project coming. Richard Hart would slap you across the face for even mentioning NFTs, but you've got one and you're talking about it in the Hex community. How did that change, and when did that happen? Like, why were there was two camps. So, you can't talk about anything aside from RH, and now you can all of a sudden. How does that happen?
I've never been, one that would take everything that Richard says, and is as gospel, or somebody that I'm going to 100% say everything. No human being, in my opinion, is as right as me. I do the things that I do. I don't need anybody. Do I take value from people teaching me, and do I try and pass that on? Yes, that's how relationships work, reciprocating. So he's taught me a ton. I've learned so much from Richard in the space, and I appreciate him for that. Are there things that I'd like to see change with him, and things that he could change, or things that I don't like about him? Of course. And he could say the same thing about me. So I'm not one of those Richard Hart maximalists that go out there and sticks in people's eyes for talking about other things or NFTs or things like that. I think that because we have Pulse Chain, we need people out there developing and working and utilizing the chain to show other people that it works.
Okay.
So that's and fair. I think that the NFT space and the Web3 space now can exist because we have a blockchain protocol that is easy for people to build on, and it works.
They can live on, yeah. I mean, that's a fair point. Pulse Chain didn't exist before when Richard was saying no other project.
Yeah.
So now that it's out there, and of course, adoption brings users and brings more throughput. So yeah, it's good.
And here's something to think about. Now this is just me saying this, but when Richard was really bagging on NFTs, they were JPEGs on Ethereum taking up space, causing gas fees to go up.
Yeah, true.
So they were kind of the problem that was coming,
Yeah.
And so Richard saying something about them at that time makes sense.
Yeah, fair.
And now him not saying anything about them and watching people build on them and whole communities being wrapped around the Pulse Chain. And, we've got the Tang gang out there, all about NFTs, all about the Pulse Chain and cross-chaining it and all that. I mean, that's what's going on. It's being utilized, and these guys are marketing on it, and they're doing great. So I'm not one of those maximalists like that. And I think that was wrong for the community to do that, but I don't blame them.
It was
because
time.
A lot of them have PTSD.
That was the timing.
And a lot of times people don't know how to deal with that PTSD, coming from the Marine Corps and dealing with that, with friends and myself and all that kind of stuff with that kind of situation. I understand how it should be handled, and a lot of people in this community haven't handled it properly, and they've taken it to a point where they have become the oppressors or the offenders. And I try and squash that as much as possible, but I'm sympathetic to them.
Okay.
Because they're not wrong, they're just incorrect.
Yeah. Okay.
Or inaccurate.
Inaccurate is probably the better word.
Yeah, inaccurate.
Captain, before I let you go, on a completely separate topic, any surfing for you? Any surfing?
Oh, not lately, man.
No?
This year, I swear to myself, as soon as I get done with this, so after this world tour is over with, we're traveling the globe this year. We're going to Europe, first Vancouver, Canada, then we're going to Europe. And then when I come back to the States, we'll be going to Australia, and then back to New York for the SEC hearing,
right?
And the Hex birthday and all that. And then next year it's going to be one big event. We're just going to be doing one big event a year. I've been touring for 2 years, so we're going to call it quits on the tour and just have one big event. And then I can start getting my surfing back in. But hopefully when I go to Australia, I can get some in.
There's surfing down under. Yeah, we all surf down here. Everyone's born with a surfboard, practically.
Oh, wait a minute. I didn't know where you're at. I didn't know if you were doxing yourself or what.
No,
but
Australia, yeah.
We may be able to visit each other when I get out
there.
Dude, then.
I'm down for it. I'm down for a wave as well. It's nothing like getting out there. Yeah. I got boards. I got spare boards. But that's something that we have in common. I also just want to thank you for responding to the tweet and then agreeing to come on and have this chat. It was nice of you to do that. I think we've all learned something. To my chat, I haven't been looking at the chat. I normally would engage the chat, but when I've got a guest like this, I'd rather just engage the conversation naturally. I will go back and watch the VOD, and I'll address some comments in the chat in the comments section. And SJ, I did see you ask me to fix a link. I'll fix that later as well. Captain, thanks very much, man.
Oh man, thanks for having me and bringing this conversation up. And again, no offense to you. Those aren't my proudest days.
It's all good. It was fun times. We can talk about D-Love another time, but I'd get flamed.
Yeah, I'd love to come back on or have you on my show too.
Sure thing. Yeah. I've typically stood. How will I phrase this? You do the outreach, and I typically sit and watch and dissect it and then try to then talk about it. Whereas on these panel discussions, I don't feel like I'd have a great deal to contribute. But having a chat with you one-on-one, for sure. But in terms of coming on for a Hex panel discussion, I just don't think I'd have... I'm just a Hex...
No, I have a
user.
show where I do an interview show, and we can discuss things. This is what's great, is because people like you who have questions, who you're right there, you just haven't learned all of the details yet, or all of the history, or what's really going on. And I think when it comes down to it, us human beings, when it comes down to the facts, we all end up agreeing on about 90% of everything, and there's about 10% of our own little opinions and bullshit that we disagree on.
In this case, I think that that highest of stakes, I think it should be pulled. Personally, I don't think it should be screened. I think there should be an amendment made, and I don't think anybody should be investing in eHex because of what Richard has said. We can agree to disagree on that. I think we've dissected that deeply enough.
Yeah.
Hey, before we do go, will Richard succeed, or will he fail with the SEC? Well, will he come out on top, or what's your take on that? Will he go down or go up?
In my experience with the SEC, subpoenaing me 4 times, and seeing how they operate, how they function, and how this has been written, and the case up to this point, what they've done, I think Richard's going to slaughter them.
Cool.
I think that they've exposed themselves to so much wrongdoing here, and so much lack of understanding. I think that the fact that, the funds that they're saying that he spent in January, that he got in July,
that's going to be hard to prove, isn't it? Yeah.
Are still in wallets that we can all see.
Yeah.
Is going to really fall flat with the judges, and the SEC is not in good favor right now. They had two members of the SEC that had to resign day before yesterday for going after a crypto company or firm, whatever you want to call them, unjustly. So it hasn't been looking good for them. So
it's going to
I think Richard has a real strong chance.
It's going to be an interesting watch, and it's going to be an exciting time. That's for certain. I think we can all agree.
We've got 200 people going there.
Yeah. Well, there'll be live streams.
We're going to show up.
There'll be live streams.
Yeah, we'll be live streaming it, and out in front of the courthouse, and of course we're all going to be in there. So they're already having to figure out how they're going to get a courthouse big enough to put the 200 we have now, and this is happening like. December or something like that? No, October. So it's going to be a long ways away still. So we may have 300, 400, 500 people there. Who knows? Hey,
Captain, stay in the green room. I'm going to wrap my stream up here, but just stick around for a brief second. But just thank you again, and thank you. Appreciate you, man. We'll speak again soon. I'll just wrap my stream up.
Anytime.
Here. Thank you, dude.
Anytime. Your community too.
Thank you very
anytime
much.
You guys have anything you want to come look at us on Discourse Syndicate, we're there, and we'll love to have you there and answer questions.
Awesome. Appreciate you, man. Hold on one sec. Well, folks, there you go. I think I'm just going to say this again to those that are here new in my chat. The idea of this stream was pretty clear. I had some questions about the highest of stakes. The person to ask is the man behind this. He's in the film. He financed the film. So that's why I wanted to do this. I tweeted it first, and then Captain said, look, hey, we'll have a chat. We'll come on. We'll do it on his channel. We'll do it on my channel. It doesn't matter. We just wanted to do it and get it out there. So there were some super chats that came through. I appreciate those people. I didn't quite see them as they came through. I was too busy focused, but I saw them pop up there. So thank you for the super chats. Thanks for all of you here who are here for the first time. I'm not really a crypto streamer. I'm a crypto investor, and every now and then when something comes up, I'll definitely investigate and I'll look at it and I'll learn. But if you want to talk shit and drink whiskey and go surfing, I'm your guy for that. So if you want to hang around on my channel from here on in, you're always welcome. There's some things coming up that I'll talk to you about on another time, but some cool content coming your way from this channel. And I will update. I know the link isn't working for Discourse Syndicate in the About section of this stream. I'll fix that. But for the time being, everybody, cheerses, take care, and have a good time, whatever you're doing, wherever you do it. I am busting for a whiz.